All right, and we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to Magnets, Not Mallets. This is a lunch and lab workshop presented by myself, Reggie Holmes, with Enthuse Creative. I'm sure that most of you probably heard about this from LinkedIn or maybe from a colleague, but however you heard about it, I'm grateful that you're here and look forward to spending the next hour with you. So again, I'm Reggie. My company is Enthuse Creative. We are a brand strategy and design studio. I'm the founder and creative director. And my areas of specialty are brand strategy, design, specifically graphic design, and brand leadership. And that really means coaching and consulting that equips business leaders to be brand leaders, to own and understand their brand for themselves, and then also how to communicate that within their organization and to the marketplace. And what I would love for each of you to do, I know we have folks from many different places here. I would love for you to drop in the chat your name, your company, and a little bit about what you do. If you are not muted, please mute. And that will facilitate a great experience for everyone. And so, yes, if you can, just feel free to drop that information in the chat. You can save the chat, and you will be able to get the recording at the conclusion of the workshop. So please let everyone know who you are, where you're from, and what type of work you do. So our goals and objectives for our Magnets, Not Mallets workshop today is to learn why branders and marketers need to use different tactics to gain and keep their clients. We also want to identify the branding and marketing tactics and strategies that can be considered aggressive or unnecessary. So what are those things that we need to avoid? And then we also want to share tips and tactics for branding and marketing approaches that are going to be better at attracting our customers. This whole idea of magnets, not mallets, is, we're trying to create brand and marketing communications that are successful at pulling our customers and prospects toward us without them feeling like they're being assaulted, beat over the head by our tactics and the tools that we use. We have this need as professionals, as business owners, to grow our businesses, but we want to do that in a way that is actually appealing to the people that we're trying to reach and not repelling to them. So as we all can attest, having probably been in school, hopefully you weren't the bully. Maybe you were the person who was bullied. If so, I'm sorry that happened to you. But no one likes the bully, right? We all understand that pushing other people to coerce them to do what you want them to do it's not ever a good thing. And we might have experienced that as children, but we know that being a bully is not a good thing. And so as you're thinking about trying to share the value of your business, your product, your service with people, we definitely don't want to come across as a bully. But here's sort of the problem. Branding and marketing, getting your message out there to your audience can sometimes feel like this game that I used to play at Chuck E. Cheese. Side note, my first job was at Chuck E. Cheese. So I came into the professional working world making pizzas. But one of the most popular games was whack-a-mole. And whack-a-mole is where, these moles pop up in these holes and you're trying to hit them over the head as quickly as you can to accumulate points and get tickets. And sometimes pushing the right buttons in branding and marketing, because there's so many tools that are available, there's so many different customers that you may be trying to go after. It can feel like a game of whack-a-mole. And it can also feel like that for your customers. Sometimes they are being bombarded by so many messages by so many people trying to push their brand, trying to market their products and services to them, they can feel like the mole in whack-a-mole, that they're just being hit over the head by all these people pushing their products and services. And when we think about magnets, not mallets, we really want to persuade. We want to draw people in, not push them away. And we don't want to be the ones feeling like we're pushing all the time, right? We don't want to be this guy. It can feel like this as the person in charge of the brand, as the person responsible for marketing and producing sales. It can feel like you're just pushing. And honestly, your customer can feel like the rock, right? We can feel like the person pushing this big boulder uphill, and your customer can feel like the rock just being pushed along. And we want to think about ways, strategies, and tactics that we can avoid that. That's pushing. What we want to do is pulling, right? We want to create systems. We want to create messaging. We want to create positioning for our brand and marketing vehicles for our business that draw customers to us. So at a very high level today, what we're going to talk about is how we can do that. What are some things that we want to avoid so we don't feel like we're pushing? And then what are some things that we want to do to make sure that we're in a better position to really pull and attract our customers to us? So now it's your turn. What I'd love for you to do is in the chat, write down, when you think of branding and marketing that turns you off. So the things that don't attract you, but actually assault you and make you feel like, I don't want anything to do with that product or service. What comes to mind? Maybe you have a specific experience. I'll just share about a group that I'm in, a Facebook group. There's a very well-known and established business brand consultant. And, he produces videos and courses, and he's pretty well established. He's somebody that I know and kind of, follow and pay attention to his material. And I think it's pretty good, what I've been exposed to thus far. And so he's somebody that people would want to work with. This is a brand strategy community group on Facebook, and there's thousands of people in this group. But someone wrote in there yesterday that they had an experience with the, onboarding customer service person that works for this other person who is the established face of the operation, if you will. And, he did not have complimentary things to say about that experience. And it just made me realize that this other individual had done so much work to build their name, build their reputation, achieve a certain position in the brand strategy space. And that work it seems being undone or undermined by this person who is doing the work on the onboarding, the client engagement side. So it was funny because the person that put the comment in the group, as if to say, hey, all the other young brand strategists out there, I know that you know about this person and are a fan of what they do perhaps, but I cannot endorse you working with them because I had a very bad experience with their customer service person. And what was interesting was that someone else had the same positive things to say about the material that person produced, but they were also had a very bad experience with the customer service person as well. So there's a pattern there where, two people sort of agree, and it was happening in this Facebook group where there are other thousands of potential people who could be customers of this other person. And so it was very revealing because it showed that, the work that's done and that's an extension of your branding and marketing, right? Someone who has interaction with your business when people, come to engage with you. So what it showed me is that all of that work that can be done to sort of build a brand and position it a certain way, that can be undermined by other extensions of your brand that people come in contact with. So what I'd like for you to do is to write some of your own experiences in the chat. If anyone would like to come off mute, we'll take maybe one or two people that can talk about, a bad experience that you've had, or specifically just what's one thing that sort of turns you off when it comes to branding and marketing, and maybe tactics or strategies that just don't work for you. Any volunteers? All right, well, please write those in the chat, and then we'll keep moving forward. All right,
hey,
so
hi,
go ahead.
Reggie, do you mind if I share something real quick?
Yeah, please go ahead, Lois.
So yeah, this is Lois Kirkpatrick, and I'm a marketing coordinator. I work for Fairfax County government. And I sign up for a lot of different marketers, like white papers and exclusive email. I'm not speaking well today. Exclusive videos and stuff. And they all require that you send them your email address in order to unlock, that extra. And a lot of them I've noticed will send multiple emails every single day. And I'm not sure who started that trend and why they think it works to bombard people daily with multiple emails. Like I could see one or two a week, but 2 or 3 a day just is very excessive.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Lois. I agree, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But frequency and volume, you have to remember, there are people receiving emails from everywhere, and so your multiple emails can be a lot, especially if the person doesn't request that volume of emails. What I always appreciate is when I'm given an opportunity to maybe have a weekly digest of the emails, or a less volume, like maybe every couple of days, as opposed to multiple emails every day. It's great to give people options. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. So branding versus marketing quickly. They're a little bit different, and we'll kind of use them together, but I want you to understand that they're a little bit different. So each has an important role in establishing and growing your business. Marketing is sort of, if we think relationally, right? Marketing is what gets people to go out with you, right? You get them to go on a date, the things that attract you and sort of get you to take action. There's a transactional nature to marketing. But when we talk about branding, we're really talking about the things that make them fall in love, right? This is going beyond just marketing. Often branding comes first, but you've got to have a brand in place to really be able to market, right? There are things that are going to initially attract someone to sort of take action, but what's going to keep them to come back and be a customer that is a recurring customer, and also a customer who could potentially be an advocate and refer others. That's going to be the connection that they make with your brand. So branding is more relational than marketing, but marketing really relies upon branding. So just want to keep that in mind. So the problem, as we think about, magnets, not mallets, is really a lack of trust. People have more options than ever before, but people also, and they have more places to get truth or get information, but people don't really always know what the truth is. And it's made them a little bit more suspicious, a little bit wary of just sort of jumping into relationships, if you will, with different brands. The observation and data both agree that there's more lack of trust between brands and customers than ever before. There's a study from an international group, and they said that 7 out of 10 brands are not considered believable, right? And this is a 2021 study. So most people, we have these relationships with brands, but a lot of them, when brands make promises, when they say, things are going to happen, they don't necessarily believe them, right? Brands are a reality of life in this world today, but there's a lack of trust there. And there are many reasons for that. These are just a few. You know, the prevalence of fake news and disinformation, like people don't really know what to believe. There's many places to get information, but can you really trust the quality of it, right? As Lois mentioned, there's a frequency and volume issue where people are just constantly bombarding your inbox, your SMS text, you know, messages, your social media feed with marketing and messaging. We are exposed to thousands of messages and marketing things every single day. Other issues are issues with security and privacy. Like people are unwilling to give that information in exchange for the white paper or the report. Like we're more cautious now. We see ads and, you know, should I click on this? Because I don't know where this leads to. And the prevalence of it sort of makes us all a little bit suspicious, because we know that there are people out there doing ransomware attacks. There are people doing phishing attacks. And so everything that looks enticing is not necessarily something that you want to click on or want to pursue. And then there are just scandals and a lack of trust that comes from poor leadership, really. People know that these, you know, brands are big and powerful, but can we really trust that they have my interest in mind? I know that they say I'm important, but the way that they sort of handle their business sometimes doesn't really lead me to truly believe that. So your turn. Do you agree that brand distrust is greater than it has ever been? And if so, if you do agree, what's the main reason that you personally have less trust in brands? So we'll take one person if you'd like to come off mute and share your answer to the question. That would be great. The first person that does it. If not, please put your answer in the chat and share it there. Anyone? All right, well, we will continue on, but please do put your answer in the chat, whether you agree with that statement or not. All right. And so one other reason that is sort of not talked about a lot, as far as I see, is the rise of personalities and personal brands. People are the voices, whereas big brands, big business used to be the voices that really carried the day. Because of the ease and ability of people to produce really quality content from their phones, from their devices, it's and the ease to be able to get that to people via social media channels. It's made us not have to rely on the big brands. You know, yes, they have the marketing departments and the research and the data, but people like to get straight talk from people that look like them. And so we live in a world where some of the most influential voices are people that look a lot like all of us. They're not necessarily in suits and ties and, you know, have titles like CEO and president. Like they're just regular people that have found a way to leverage these powerful tools to be able to get their brand and message across. Does anybody know who this individual is? Okay. All right. So I didn't expect that most people would, but so this person is called Ryan Kaji. And he has a platform, a YouTube channel called Ryan's World. And Ryan is 9 years old now. He's actually the highest paid YouTuber in the world. He has an estimated net worth of $32 million. Are you kidding? According to Celebrity Net Worth. His channel has accumulated more than 29 million subscribers, and his videos have been viewed more than 47 billion times with a B.
Wow.
And so Ryan is a YouTuber. He reviews toys for kids and has obviously become incredibly popular. And he actually has his own line of toys, Ryan's World Toys. It's a whole, just look it up. There's lots of products. So he's manufacturing, producing his own content and now his own toys. And he's a big deal. And this is someone who is not a professional trained spokesperson. He is literally just a kid playing with toys, giving his review of the toy. Now, if you're a parent, that's going to be persuasive, right? And he's popular with the kids, popular with the parents. If you're a child, you see it on Ryan's World. You're going to go tell, your parents, hey, I want the toy that Ryan's playing with, right? And so this is just one example. Most people are not him, but I thought it was pretty cool that, this is just indicating what I'm talking about, how, this store has gone away. I actually heard that they're bringing it back to Macy's. So that's pretty cool. But this Toys R Us that we maybe grew up going to, this doesn't exist anymore. This model is gone away. But clearly people are still buying toys and they're still looking for information about what toys they should buy. Instead of going to Toys R Us, they go to Ryan's World. And so I just want to help us make that distinction at how things have changed and what's really persuasive to the customer today is not what used to be. 10 years ago, if I said, I want to make videos on YouTube for a living, like that's what I want my job to be. You might have laughed me off of this webinar because nobody was really doing that. That wasn't a thing. Sure, you can do it for fun, but you can't make a life out of that. You can't make a livelihood out of that. But the world changes, social media has changed, and there's definitely a place for that sort of content to be able to persuade and market and get people to buy things. So I just thought that was a great example. All right, so I want to share this term. What's missing in a lot of the big box sort of approach is hubrandity, or branding with humanity, right? And you'll hear me sort of say this over and over again, but what people really value and what they want is humanity, right? We're all people. I like to say that we were human beings before we were humans doing, and we exist and we like to share and engage with other people. And if branding is all about relationships, then the human element needs to be present and be prevalent in everything that we're doing as it relates to our brands and to marketing our brands. So humanity, what does that look like? It means empathy, consciousness, and concern for others. It's not just about promoting whatever it is that I'm here to promote. It means that, we as a business, we see you and care about you. How can you communicate that in your branding and marketing? It also means energy, which is reflected in your passion and purpose. That says, we have a reason for what we do, and we know that you do as well. And we're doing our best to align our sense of passion and purpose with yours to make engaging with our brand a meaningful experience for both of us. Empowerment, it has to deal with value and voice for the consumer. It says, we believe in you and hear you, and we are going to give you an opportunity to engage with us and have your value be shared and have your voice be heard. So that's really important in bringing a human element as well. And lastly is experience, this idea of story and success. The brand communicates to the customer, hey, we're on this journey together. We're committed to your success. We have a story, but we also know that you have a story. And we're on this journey And we hope to align with your story and our story in a way that leads us all to be successful. And so the more that you can incorporate these themes in the way you position and market your brand, that's going to help you make that human connection. And we'll talk a little bit more about, practically sort of what that looks like, but keep that idea in mind. People want to connect with people. Even if they connect with brands, they want to do it in a way that feels like it's with a person. Here's a great example that I found online. We all have heard of New York Life, the company you keep. They've been around for 175 years. So that's important to them, right? That's a distinguisher. But they don't just lean on that and push that down the customer's throat. Like they're telling stories with these. So this is from their website, from their homepage. And they don't really talk about insurance. They don't talk about the what here. They talk about the why. And they refer to history. This is another set of images, but they show going back in time. They go back much further than 1979 as well. But what it's showing is that New York Life has been around through, this was, I think sometime last year or early this year. They've been around through all these different changes. So the world has changed a lot, but New York Life has been around with that same commitment to helping people to secure their family's future, to take action on the things that they love, to be in a position to withstand all these different changes that have happened over time. And that's why New York Life is the company you keep. They don't just say, hey, we've been doing insurance for a really long time. You should work with us because we've been around longer than all these other insurance companies. They have funny commercials and spokespeople, and we don't do any of that because we've been around for 175 years. Rather than leaning on that, which would have been easy to do, but I think is not as human as this approach. And so I just want to use this as an example of showing how a company that is very much one of the, sort of legacy brands, really well known, really well established, look for ways to not necessarily reinvent themselves, but help people see that they're really not in the business of insurance as it relates to making that human connection with people. They're in a position of allowing people to be able to do what they love. And they've been able to do that throughout time, throughout many different changes that have happened in the way our country looks and operates. And what it comes down to, is being a diplomat versus being a dictator, right? And there's a two-way dialogue that happens between the brand and the customer. In the past, it used to be the brand sort of dictating to the customer, this is who we are. This is why you should trust us. We're this and we're that. We're number one, we're the ones that you should work with. But diplomats, there's negotiation, there's back and forth. And there's an understanding that we're working together to make sure that everybody gets what they want. When a dictatorship, the dictator gets what he wants at the expense of the person or group that's being dictated to. And it just doesn't work that way in modern branding because consumers have too many options. They have too strong of a voice. They have many ways to express what they want. And it's not beneficial for a customer, a brand to act as if consumers don't have this choice or these options. And so, in a diplomacy or with diplomats, the focus is on shared value. How can we both get what we want to achieve success? And so keep that image in mind as you're thinking about engaging with your own client base, getting your customers to take the action that you want them to take. There's diplomacy involved, not just a dictatorship. That's more of an older model when consumers weren't as empowered and as vocal, honestly, as they are today. So these are some things that we should avoid. We'll touch on them briefly. These are sort of high level, the mallets. We don't want to hit people over the head with these things. Don't overdo it. As we talked about earlier, with unsolicited messages, things that are very invasive, and also robotic. If you reach out to someone, do it in a way that's personalized, and not the standard message, auto message. We'll talk a little bit about automation and things like that, but don't overdo it. Don't do too much, right? If the goal is to attract, there's got to be something that people are attracted to. So there's a little bit of mystery, a little bit of, well, let me look into that if I'm really interested. Don't give them everything. And if you are not muted, if you don't mind muting, that'd be great. And so next, don't threaten the customer. Obviously, that's pretty straightforward. But again, you have to do this. Like, you don't have any option. You don't have any choice. People always have choices, and no one likes to be told that they're out of options. Again, going back to the idea of empowering the customer, you want to make them aware, but don't threaten them. Obviously, again, don't lie or deceive. This often happens with fine print, sort of changing the terms as you go through the process, or not telling people that there's a cost or something up front. We don't want to do that. We want to, that's one thing that certainly breaks down trust, which is already at a premium. Along the same lines, don't obscure the message, hiding things in a bunch of filler text or things that people aren't going to read, and then just duplicative processes. So making things unnecessarily difficult. Don't make it difficult for people to buy. One thing I don't really like is, on top of incessant messaging, is really, really long landing pages. Like, if I'm on the landing page, sure, I want to know what it is, but don't make me scroll forever. Just tell me what the offer is, tell me what my options are, and show me how to sign up if I want that. Doing things where there's always one more step. Those are the types of things that I think we want to avoid. Also, assuming either way. So assuming that, what your customer wants if you haven't asked, or assuming that how they're going to respond if you haven't done the research, or accusing, right? Those are things that we want to avoid as well. You want to empower your customer, and you want to make them feel like they are valued throughout the process of becoming aware of your brand, through sale, and even after sale. Don't intentionally offend. A lot of people try to be shocking in the name of being bold, but it's really just offensive. Don't demean groups of people. Understand that even within groups, they're individuals. And especially like in this time, everybody's going through something. And I think if anything, good has come out of the pandemic from a marketing branding standpoint, is that it did cause companies, brands to be a little bit more thoughtful in their messaging, particularly in the first few months after everything happened. People were like, okay, well, we want to sell, but we know we can't do the hard sell. Like, we really need to position ourselves as just understanding that people are going through things, and we're a little bit further along, but we're not out of it yet. And so that's going to continue to be important. Just understanding that people are still going through a hard time. They're still figuring things out, even though we're months removed from, the first few months of it. So just keep that in mind. Everybody's going through something, and you don't want to be offensive just because, for the sake of shock value. Don't belittle or talk down to the customer. Things like, it's almost like assuming, right? Just that they don't know any better, right? That they can't go out and get information about the product or service, so that they can't do their own research. Like, most customers have done online research before they start the process of engaging you to buy. And then, really importantly, don't fail to live up to your brand promise. Hey, we did the wrong thing and got caught, or we're just going to act like it didn't happen, or we're going to blame shift and say someone else is at fault. Like, take responsibility, and understand that how that can damage the relationship, and then make amends. All right. And so these are things that we want to do, right? They're things that are good things to do. So moving through this, choose who you serve or target, right? One aspect of your brand that you can control and influence. You don't have to be polarizing. Too many people think that you have to be polarizing. You don't have to pick sides, but you do need to choose your customer, right? And as you say, hey, we're going to target and serve this group or this type of customer, you're not going to be able to target and serve another type of customer. And again, that doesn't mean that you are against them. You're just not for them, right? That sort of frees you up to focus on the people that are your target audience. And then once you commit to the customer, you've got to continually get to know them. You've got to do research. You've got to ask great questions. Like, the goal is to understand that customer really, really well so you can serve them better. Another thing is, you emphasize the benefits and not just the features. Like, we know our businesses really well. We know our products and services really well, and we love to talk about them, right? We love to talk about how great our widget is, or, our app or product. And I see this as a key issue for small business owners, is we don't know how to talk about the benefits of it in terms of what it's going to do for our customer. We're not nearly, generally speaking, as good at that as we are talking about the features of our product or service. And so I expect you, if you're selling something, to be enthusiastic about it, but we need to frame that enthusiasm through the lens of the value that it holds as a solution to my customers' problems. Like, I'm excited about it because of what it can do for you. Let's talk about what life is going to be like when you get this in your hands. Let's talk about the options and opportunities that it's going to create for you, as opposed to, it's awesome because it does X, Y, and Z. So not the what, but the what doesn't matter. Why is it important for your customer? That's a key question. Next, embrace two-way communication. As I mentioned before, there are more and more ways for customers to talk back, and people are empowered by that. Like, they want to engage the brand, not just when there's a problem, but when things are going well. And you as the brand need to be open to that and make yourself available to that, and avail yourself of the tools that allow you to do that. People can talk back quickly, loudly, and again, it could be negatively or positively, but just understand that that's the climate that we're in, that people expect to be able to have that level of engagement with the brand, and that makes you human, and that makes you attractive. Make it as personal as possible. As I said earlier, there are groups within groups, and there's individuals within the group. You can't make everything incredibly customized or personalized, but do your best to create that personal experience for everybody. It's easier for us to do it in small businesses, but it's also something that people expect, right? That you're gonna know my name, that you're gonna know what my preferences, know what my likes and dislikes are. I think the more that we can create that's really powerful, and that's attractive to customers. So embrace the things that are going to allow you to be able to create that kind of experience for them. And lastly, understand how much has changed. As I said, things have changed a lot since the pandemic began, from just the advancement of technology transformation, but also just in terms of where people are at and what they're feeling and what they're going through. In many respects, so people either don't want disruption, interruption, distraction from all your ads and all your messaging, or they want that because they're trying to achieve that because they're dealing with so much in their life. And so it's important to kind of know where your customers are. But in general, without asking them, don't just throw everything at them all the time. And as I said, the buying process often starts in a different place. People, they do their own research. They come with questions in hand. They already sort of know what their pain points are, and they want to see if your product or service is the right solution. And so as they come in with that, know them well so you can meet their problems with your solution. And this is just an example of, there are ad blockers out there that prevent ads from being seen. And so this shows up through early this year, over a quarter of ads are not seen because people have these ad blockers installed, right? Like they don't want to be bothered by ads. And so the advertising world is changing. There's a lot of transformation underfoot in that world from the prevalence of ad blockers, and then also the search technology changes that will be happening in that. But people, they find ads invasive, intrusive, and so they're trying to find ways around that. Like we don't want all your ads. We don't want all your messaging. We want to figure things out on our own in many cases. And so, so the marketplace is changing, right? People have different needs, and it's important as people who lead brands and lead marketing that we understand that. So, and another stat, before we look at, what are some of the magnets of things that we want to be doing, research shows that consumers believe they have the power to force brands to change. So brands are not just, they can't force consumers to buy their products or services, but people feel like 63%, according to an Edelman study that was released in 2021, 63% believe that they have the power to force brands to change. So, you've heard of boycotts or, canceling or anything like that. Like people believe that they can put enough pressure. It's so much of a two-way street now. They could put pressure on brands to be able to get them to take action that they want to take. And they want to exert that power on brands to make society better. So 78% of the respondents in this study said they want to use that power to make society better by getting these brands to change and take actions that they want them to take, whether they're social issues or environmental issues. The power is really with the people. And as branders, as marketers, it's important that we recognize that and understand that. So what can we do? Actively listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I think that's a good ratio in terms of how much listening you do as a brand versus how much talking you do, right? We think we got to make content, we got to produce, we got to talk. But I want to encourage us to actively listen even more than we talk or we message. Talk about them, not about you. I heard someone say, on your website, all the content that talks about us, we, think about how you can write that in terms of you, speaking to your customer and not necessarily about yourself, and a great place to start is like your About Us page. Like, yes, it should give me information about your company, but the About Us is not necessarily about me or about us. It's really about how does any of this matter, or why does any of this matter to our customer? So that's a unique way to think about it. Incentivize engagement, not just sales. And that speaks to that idea of shared value again. Like let people know that you value their input, you value their comments, their reviews, their testimonials. Like, you want to know, you don't just want their sales, like you want a relationship, right? Marketing is like, I want the sale, I want the date. Branding is like, we want you in our life, we want a long-term relationship. And so that will definitely change how you position yourself. Let other people talk about how great you are. Like, we know you're awesome, your brand is the bomb, but we need reviews. Like, people want to see reviews. They want to see those testimonials. They want to see that social proof that, because again, if brands are less trustworthy, like, of course you're going to say great things about yourself, but how can I really trust that? Like, I want to hear it. I want to see it verified and confirmed by other people who are not on the payroll, who are not trained or paid spokespeople or anything like that. So, and then always consciously add value. Even if it's not a direct sale, how can you improve this person's experience? How can you add something that will be valuable to them? And let them decide, okay, do I want to go follow through with the sale? Do I want to become a customer? Or do I just want to peruse some information, some content, and get some value out of it? And maybe that's it for now, but you've added value, and that person will always have that positive association. Next, again, speak to solutions through the shared language of pain. Like, when the pandemic happened, everybody was feeling the pain, right? Businesses have a job to do to sell whatever their product or service is. But there was this commonality of this experience that we're all going through, which was really helpful. I was bombarded by emails, as I'm sure you were, but it was good to know that they at least understood that we're going through this together. And utilize the language of invitation in your calls to action. So again, don't just tell people what to do, but invite them to take part in something. Similarly, empower them to take the next step. Recognize that they may not want to at this point, and they may want to get off, but we want to make it easy for you to continue if that's what you want to do, right? The power is in their hands, whether we as the brand acknowledge it or not. Give them numerous gateways to choose the right option for them, including exiting. Again, it may not be right for them. And I like to be empowered through the process to know that I can walk away at any time. Ultimately, I'm going to make the decision that's best for me. And I always appreciate when brands acknowledge that, right? And then speak the common language of passion as well. People love enthusiasm. It's infectious. And so, be excited about your product and service, but also understand that, like, people are looking for something to be passionate about as well. And those are the kind of customers that you want. And that's sort of the type of brand that you want to be. And you really want to find people that align with that. So don't be afraid to be excited about what it is that you're doing. So there's this thing called the Rhetorical Triangle. Here's a framework that we can sort of use to start creating messaging like this. And there are three elements: the logos, ethos, and pathos. And it was developed by Aristotle in the 4th century BCE. So this is older than anyone on the call today. But it's a great framework to be able to create persuasive messages, which is what we want to do. We want to pull and not push. And so the Rhetorical Triangle is a great place to kind of start with doing that. And the best messaging kind of uses all three elements. Logos is the words, the actual substance, the reason behind the message. These things like facts and stats and evidence that we bring to make our argument. Ethos has to do with the writer, the credibility of the person bringing the message and the way in which the message is actually brought. And pathos is that emotional, personal connection element that gets them to sort of buy in and emotionally connect with what it is that you want them to do. And again, we want to create messaging that sort of combines all three elements. That's going to be most effective at being persuasive. And so this is there's a worksheet that I've put together that you can start to work through. Elizabeth, my assistant, will drop that in the chat. But these are examples of sort of typical messages that we can beat people over the head with that kind of fit those three categories. There's, ethos, like, hey, trust us. We're the experts with the experience, right? Everybody says that. What I want you to think about is how you can, knowing what you've learned in this workshop, how can you change that around? Like, how can you say that without saying it that way? Pathos is sort of a bad emotional argument. You'll be sorry if you don't work with us, right? You're trying to guilt them. You're trying to shame them. That's not empowering, right? That's not the message that we really want. And then logos, hey, 9 out of 10 say ours is the best product on the market. And that may be true based on some poll or, set of statistics. But that's not really a strong, rational argument either. How can you improve upon that? And so, you can write it in the chat if you want, or just think about it as you get that worksheet and have a chance to kind of think of your own arguments for your own business. How would you revamp these arguments based on the things that we talked about today? So wrapping up, a couple of things I want to touch on. Using automation and artificial intelligence tools must be combined with the human touch. They must be balanced. That's the key word. All your interactions and touch points need to feel human as possible. That's what's really going to be important. That's what's going to make people connect. And automation, artificial intelligence, these tools are great because they allow us to expedite the process and get more done more quickly. But they can't take the place of that human connection. Sometimes you will need to pick up the phone, right? Sometimes you will need to handwrite that email and not just use the AI to produce it quickly, and so as we're thinking about messaging that really does connect and draw in, think about how you can combine the technology that we have available to us with the overriding human touch that's really important. And my friend John D'Annunzio, who is a content writer, gave me this thought to sort of, close us out. Use your magnets after you've made the sale. Like, they're not just for pulling people into the funnel, kind of guiding them through it. Like, they're useful afterward. Ensure that your customers are having a good experience. Get their feedback. Again, listen, ask those questions, and make them feel special, right? We as people, as humans, we understand that. I want to feel special. I want to feel connected. And then, remember the relationship. Branding is about relationship. It's not just about the transactional. Hey, I'm marketed to you. I got you in my system. I made a sale. Like, how do you get that customer to come back and then get them to bring their friends? It's by creating a quality relationship through human experience. So Elizabeth will also drop another link in the chat. I have a digital brand strategy guide that I put together, and it's a great resource for anybody interested in growing their brand online. You can download that link. You'll get the guide and then some other email tools in succession that will walk you through the guide and allow you to be able to use it. And we also have a special offer for everybody that attended today. It's a $100 discount on our brand audit. And these are all the things that are included. It's a great tool for somebody that is, just thinking about what they can do with their brand, looking for options, looking for answers, things that they can do to increase their brand presence. All right. And so this is my contact information. You can also sign up for our mailing list via text. I will go ahead and stop my share. We have a few minutes for questions. If you have any feedback, you can feel free to put that in the chat as well, or email me or call me or hit me up on social media. But that's the presentation. Magnets, not mallets. Thank you everyone for being here. I'll stop the share and stop the recording. And we'll take any questions that you have. Thank you.